is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am so excited about today's episode because I'm going to be sharing with you all my favorite season to transplant perennials. That is right, fall is my favorite season to transplant perennials. I am so excited about when fall comes because I've always got stuff I'm putting in the ground, and I always wait until fall if I can, because fall is so much superior to spring. And so I want to explain why, and I do want to get to planting as well. So we're going to plant up some currants and gooseberries that I've had in containers for 2 years. Really need to get them in the ground, but I wanted to first talk about why fall is my favorite season, because I really think that I'm going to change a lot of your minds. So one of the downsides to planting in the spring is if you're planting, obviously if you're planting bare root or from a container, you're planting the plant in the spring. So often we plant our plants, bare root or container, doesn't matter, in the spring, early spring, when you're encouraged to do so. And then what happens is it comes out of dormancy, and then an early frost, or I guess a late frost, comes and knocks it all out. So then what happens is the plant is either set back a very long time or it dies completely because all of that energy that just went into growing just got knocked out. And so that really discourages a lot of gardeners because, you've killed a plant before you could even get a chance to grow it. That's the most frustrating thing. Whereas in the fall, the plant is already kind of preparing to go dormant. The weather has gotten colder, the sun is lower in the sky. It naturally is preparing to go into dormancy, even though it's in a container. So then once you plant it, it has all winter, all remaining fall plus winter plus early spring to get established. And that means a far better plant that's going to come out of dormancy a lot easier and a lot more naturally once the plant has enough warm days to come out of dormancy. So you have a better chance of that. Plus, you have a lot less chance of losing the plant if it heats up really quickly in the spring. So many times I see this happen where someone plants a plant and then the spring just turns right into summer. Here in Michigan, that happens all the time. And what happens is it gets so hot that then the plant dies of heat stress. In the fall, obviously that's not a problem because it's much cooler, so the plant can be acclimated a little more gradually to those growing conditions. Another thing is obviously watering. People forget to water. Well, one of the downsides to forgetting to water is that usually the plant will die because the root fibers dry out. And once the root fibers dry out, the plant is dead. There's no bringing it back once the root fibers dry out, especially bare root. You have a little bit of forgiveness with a container-bound plant, but in a bare root, it's gone. So in the fall, what happens is you get a lot more rain. It's pretty much equal, if not more, to springtime weather when it comes to rain, because we get so much more rain in the fall than we do in late spring when you'd be planting. So it's just something to consider that when you plant it in the fall, if you do forget to water, it's got plenty of water. The ground right now is saturated. We've had like a whole week of rain, which is why it's been hard to get out and do videos. So those are reasons why I really love to plant in the fall if I can. And the final reason why fall is just so superior to planting in the spring is because the deals are usually better on perennials. If you're someone who wants to save money, plant in the fall. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to my nursery and seen apple trees and peach trees and pear trees. They're still alive. They might be a little stressed, but they're still alive. And they're like 50 to 75% off because they're like, look, we do not want these anymore. Get them gone. Like, who's going to be planting these? I'm thinking to myself, I'm planting these. Like, this is a great deal. This is a good time to get plants. So you can save a ton of money because these people are not wanting to carry these through another year. So you can get a mega deal on a lot of your plants. This doesn't even mean just edibles. I've seen things like arborvitaes be like 50 to 75% off at our local nurseries because they're just clearing them out. So you can save a ton of money and plant them now. I think there's a really common misconception that spring is the only time to plant. And I think the thing doing the biggest disservice to that is all these magazines. Now, there's nothing against them. I think they're fun to look through. The problem is they advertise them a lot of times with like seeds and new plants, and nurseries often will send out catalogs and things like that. And they make it seem like spring is the only time to plant because they're really advertising that, that spring fever mentality. Spring is arriving. I want to get outside. I want to get my garden started. I want to plant. And it's not that you're going to have it's not that you're not going to have success planting in the spring, it's just that fall offers so much better chances for success, but they're just not marketing. I mean, how often have you had a catalog saying, make sure to buy your apple trees for fall planting? Never seen it. Now you do see things like tulips and other bulbs and stuff. Those are typically advertised for fall planting, but so are things like garlic. So it doesn't really count. I'm talking about fruit trees, fruit bushes, things like that. Get them in the ground now. Now is the best time to plant. So with that out of the way, I hope I changed your mind. Let me know in the comments box below if I did change your mind. And maybe, maybe chime in too if you've been planting in the fall and the results that you've had doing it. We've had nothing but success. In fact, out of 10 plants we've planted in the fall, 10 of them have survived that are still growing now. In fact, I drove by our old house where we had our little mini orchard planted, and they're still surviving. We planted those in the fall. So and that was 8 years ago. So those are still growing, and in fact, they're a whole lot taller now. They're actually about, it had to have been about 3 to 5 feet taller than me. So it was really cool to see them still alive. I'm glad the homeowner didn't cut them down. So a little sidetrack, let's get planting. I am really excited about this, so let's go. So I had these currants and gooseberries in these pots because I was kind of nurturing them back to life. They were really stressed, and I didn't want to plant them in the spring because I was worried I'd lose them if they got any more stressed. So I kept them in their pots, and that's often a tactic that I've implemented with really good success. Is if you nurture a plant in a pot, it has a better chance of surviving if you keep it in the pot than sometimes moving it so quickly. Sometimes there is a reason to move it, if it's really, really stressed and you're going to lose it if it stays in the pot. But if it's showing signs of just moderate stress, sometimes it's better just to leave it because that additional move sometimes is just enough stress to kill it. And you can see just how beautiful this soil is. I mean, in the springtime, not only are we talking about just standing water and mud because it's all thawing and it's hard to dig a hole too. And that's another thing, is that often, when it's the best time to plant in the spring, you still can't plant because there's frost. That frost layer still is down in even 5 or 6 inches deep in the soil, and you've got to get down, say, a foot or so down in the soil to get the root ball down there. You're not going to unless you have a jackhammer. So just other things to consider. All right, just about perfect. This is a Rovada red currant. So really excited about getting these currants and gooseberries in our garden. There's just not enough of them around. I don't see a lot of people growing currants and gooseberries, and they're one of my favorite fruits, honestly. I really love them. And one of the last things I'm going to do after I'm done backfilling is I'm actually going to water this in. It might seem crazy after I just said how much rain we're getting, but it's really important because you have to remember all of this soil we just dug up, it's all been displaced. It's all in clumps. As you can see, all those clumps there, they hold a lot of oxygen, and a lot of oxygen is not good for root development. It really actually is counterproductive to root development. Having good oxygenation is important in the soil, but that's once the soil has already kind of compressed and reduced those larger air pockets, which can actually inhibit root growth. So there's a fine line between too much and too little. And when you disturb your soil, it gets all these big clumps in here, and that causes a lot of air pockets. And watering will help to, it'll help to reduce those air pockets. It'll help to increase the settling and just to make things go back to normal again a lot quicker. And it'll also help to just kind of fill in every little nook and cranny around the roots that I might have missed when I was backfilling, so that there's a lot more contact with the native soil, so that this plant can get accustomed to its growing conditions a lot quicker. So just something you always have to do, whether it's fall or spring. It's important to give these a good watering in. So that is why fall is my favorite time to plant perennials. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. I've got to get one more planted up, so I got to run, but I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. Catch y'all later. See ya.